Hey guys, Alex with Bay Cities Construction. Today, I want to talk to you about waterproofing costs. So we're breaking it down by square foot. We got a case study format for you so that you can do your own little home assessment on what your balcony is going to cost to re-waterproof it or repair it. So we broke it down into good, better, best model. And what we're talking about here is the condition of the balcony. If the balcony is just bad, it's got some cracks, no structural damage, that's going to be one category. So what we're talking about here is this is a balcony I went to go see in El Segundo. It's a concrete balcony, and it had some surface cracks on it. So when we did all the numbers and we picked out the unit, this came out to $97 a foot. Basically, we divide the size of the balcony by the cost, and that's your square footage cost. So let me give you a couple other pictures of the same balcony here. So you could see that the waterproofing that they put in, and this is probably 6-7 years old, it's completely delaminated and it started to crack. Here's a little close-up shot. And this is kind of a two-layered type of a product. There's going to be a picture here you'll be able to see. But so you've got some water pooling. Part of the underlayment of this was to slope it, but for whatever reason, it was catching water there, and that's what you see all that staining around the drain. Wasn't quite pooling well enough. Now, around the door, in this case, was properly sloped. So definitely was... the water was not rolling back into the unit. It definitely stayed outside in its slope. But this is one of the things that we check for is the slope away from the door. It's super important that you have a 1/4 inch per foot slope away from from water, or you have a 1/4 inch per foot sloping towards the drain. Is a better way to explain it. What you're looking at here is the waterproofing system material, which is the gray stuff, and on the underneath it is going to be the material that they use to slope it. Remember, this is not a wood frame balcony. This is a commercial building. It's a concrete cantilevered slab, and concrete is not even. It's not perfectly even. So in order to get the slopes correctly to drain water away from the door and into or onto the scupper and the floor drain, they use this material here, this sloping material, which is part of the whole waterproofing system. So the next two balconies that I want to share with you these are wood frame balconies, meaning there's a wood subfloor, there's a wood structure holding it up, okay, not concrete. These are a little bit different, or this particular balcony is a little bit different because it has a parapet wall. If you have a balcony that doesn't have a parapet wall, that just has a handrail, you should know it's going to be less expensive to repair and to waterproof that balcony, because you're not going to have to deal with breaking stucco and running flashing, and we're going to get into that in a minute. So this balcony here is 172 square feet, and it came out to $192 a square foot. Now, that seems a little bit crazy, right, as a cost per square foot, but we'll get into how we got to that price. This balcony, you can see, has cracks between the stucco, where the stucco meets the deck surface of the balcony. And what happens when you do that, you have to tear all of that stucco out, and you have to definitely, in this case, we were able to open up holes underneath the balcony. There's sections that's discolored and may have even a little fungus infestation. I'll show you what that looks like in some of the other pictures, but definitely this one has got to have the stucco removed, brand new flashing, brand new subfloor, and a little bit of structural damage repair. Not a tremendous amount, but some. You can also see that the scupper here is leaking. It's been repaired. You can see that fresh patch, like somebody messed with it, but it's leaking, and it didn't get fixed. It got lightly patched. You could see some of the attempts to seal these cracks with different adhesives, or who knows what the heck they use. That stuff just doesn't work. That where that crack is, there's a little micro flex, and the crack just separates from whatever people patch it with, and you'll get water coming in there again. Okay, so the first picture where the scupper was, that's the parapet wall. This picture is the room that's the wall that's shared with the bedroom, and you can see that it's cracked along the entirety of where the stucco meets the deck. This should have a two-step flashing system. It should have a weep screed and an L flashing on the bottom. Anyway, long story short, all of this has to come out, okay? When you look a little closer at this door, the door is pretty much, the bottom of the door is touching the deck. The likelihood of that leaking, if it doesn't have a metal pan underneath there, is very high, 75% probability that it's leaking. When we opened up the stucco underneath, near the area where the scupper was, there seems to be a lot of damage in there. So a lot of water is getting in there over the course of time, and it's caused some damage. Here's a wider shot of the door. Of course, the chairs and stuff is kind of in the way. Anyway, this has kind of this parapet wall has another indication that you got water intrusion. So when you have this like algae type mossy growth here, that's not so much from the water leaking from the deck. That's water leaking from the top of the parapet wall. So it's very plausible that this whole area here has got a little bit of fungus growing in it, and you really won't know until you start peeling back some of the stucco. But if you don't deal with that, that type of a leak, you could do all the waterproofing that you want, and it still won't keep the water from coming in the building. This is the outside of that scupper. You could see that it is staining, and that's basically the water's leaking through the scupper. The flashing on the inside of the wall, it's gone. That needs to be handled, and this is some of the water stains that were inside of the garage over that balcony. All right, this next job is a house. It's a single-family house I went to go see in Rolling Hills Estates, and they had an interesting balcony set up over the master, overlooked really nice views. Anyway, we were proposing that we do an AL system by Life Specialty Coatings. 110 square foot. This is a wood frame balcony with a slight cantilever, so you could see that it sticks out maybe 14 inches or so over the footprint of there's a little dining area, a little breakfast nook area underneath there. Anyway, this came out to about $205 a foot, and we were proposing, see the deck surface, it's toast. It was definitely soft, had to be removed completely. Had some growth, that black stuff that you see there, it's just mold growing on the surface of it. Now, luckily, this didn't have a parapet wall. This had the handrails attached to the fascia of the deck, which means that if the outside board where they're attached is in good shape, you don't need to remove them. Okay, so that's a plus, right? You're saving money by not having to do that component of it. In this case, we basically would open up the area underneath this door. We recommended that the door be replaced. It's a single pane door from probably from the 80s or 90s. And we need to put a metal threshold pan under there. Remove this wood, open up the stucco, completely flash those pieces, and then redeck the entire decking surface. This deck has probably been leaking for a while. We really won't know if we've got any structural damage there until we remove the decking material. But it did seem solid, like the handrails, when I pushed them, it did seem solid. The top wood over that handrail was pretty much toast. So I had recommended that we remove it and replace it with a exterior rated lumber. You can see the fascia here is, pretty crispy, but the bolts and whatever the backing is behind this fascia or rim board was in good shape. So could very well be that we just disconnect this, replace the fascia, redo the flashing, redo the surface, and we could use the same handrail. The handrail meets the current code requirements as far as height and separation, so that's not a problem. And removing it and reinstalling it is very likely okay. All right, let's go to the worst case scenarios. Scenarios where you actually have structural damage. This is an HOA I went to go look at in Signal Hill probably a month or two ago. And it's probably on the top 10 of structural damage balconies and elevated elements. So again, this is a wood frame building. This is a double decker. So it's got balconies with a slight cantilever over the garages, and then the entire second floor decks are resting on here. And here you can actually see the posts have crushed this bottom rim board and has pushed it down. I'll show you some other kind of crazy pictures. So this is imminent. This scenario here is an imminent structural failure. Okay, how bad will it be? Will the entire second floor deck come down? Maybe. You could have a partial collapse. If this breaks off here in the corner, you could have a partial collapse where you'd lose maybe 30% of the top deck. Here and here were the worst. I actually got to walk on the surface of that deck. It looks pretty bad. Pretty bad. So we were out there with the engineer, and the engineer kind of gave us some guidance on what to recommend to pull back so we can assess the totality of the condition of the wood. You can see there's a tremendous amount of staining here. That's just mold growing under there. That means that there's an active fungus infestation and the wood is deteriorating. The wood is deteriorating rapidly. You could see the post of this handrail when I was moving it jiggled like, you could probably kick it off with a few good kicks. But the post actually sank into the deck. And they've been painting it and trying to keep it going. But this is not something that should just be recoated with a waterproofing system and call it a day. Not at all. This needs some structural repair for sure. This second story has got to be shored up, keep it from falling. This whole deck surface needs to be peeled out so you can assess how bad the wood is. And this is another section of that same building. You can see cracks at the base of the handrail. That's allowing water to come through. This rust is indicative of water coming through and rusting the base. There's a flange under there with a screw. And if you get enough rust, that flange will either snap off or the screw will completely rust, and it'll be like if nothing was there. So it's important. These are serious type of indicators. So engineering wise, they recommended that we open this up so we can expose. When you're opening up a building for the purpose of assessing how bad it is, ideally you want to open up from underneath so you can keep the deck surface intact, right? It is definitely cracked on top and it's allowing water to go through. But if we open it up, then we have a trip hazard. We have to do a bunch of different stuff. So it's a lot easier just to cut the stucco underneath so that the deck is still functionable while we're assessing the totality of the damage. This is the backside, and this is, again, the area is recommended to be removed. All right, I want to talk to you folks about or I want to kind of recap from other videos what an exterior elevated element is, because that's the basis for the state laws that require certification of both HOA units and apartment buildings. So elevated elements have to be cantilevered out like this, okay? And they got to be higher than, I think, 7 feet or so. That's the, 6 feet. Any structure that's above 6 feet will meet the threshold for an elevated element. So that could be balconies, it could be the catwalks, it could be the stairs, the landings when you're switching from one floor to the next. This is a job we went to go see in Manhattan Beach maybe about a year ago. This was really bad too. This is an HOA deal. And the one to the right is one in that's in El Segundo. This is an example of some Torrance balconies. These are completely cantilevered out. They've got wood handrails, and you can see based on the paint, they look pretty well maintained. The building itself looks nicely maintained. So that's always a good idea, guys. Keep your buildings looking nice. This is a rooftop deck. Now, this is not an elevated element unless it is cantilevered out, okay? But it's an example of many other components that other units share. You got a parapet wall, you've got a nice walking surface, and then you've got stairs with a landing that lead out. This is a building we went to a look at maybe 4 weeks ago, and standard apartment building. The surface of this has probably been leaking for 10 years. This has got tremendous amount of water stain. The stucco's popping out. Has cracks. It's got surface cracks, and the handrails are soft. And this is probably going to be a total demolition of this. So we'll remove the steel stairs, demo the entire thing, build out new handrails, and then it'll be safe again. So those are some of the examples, some of the square footage costs. So if you're kind of ready to take the next step and deal with your balcony, you can always call our offices, and we can book a Zoom call. Send me some pictures. We can talk about it. That's absolutely free. If you want me to go do a site visit and take some measurements, give you a report and all that good stuff, that's $50, and that'll be due at the time you see me. So I want to check it. I want to check and verify. I used to be a college professor, so I'm always verifying that my students are doing their homework and paying attention. So you guys have a pop quiz. All right, I'm going to show you some pictures. You're going to tell me if it's an elevated element or not. This is a huge apartment building in Rolling Hills Estates. Actually, it's an HOA, but it is huge. Do these balconies qualify as an elevated element? Yay or nay? Go ahead and post your comments in the video below. The first one. The second one with all these little circles around the scuppers. Is this an EEE? Post your comments below. Let me know what you think. And the last one in Redondo Beach, 2 on a lot. Is this an elevated element? All right, guys. Curious to see what your thoughts are. Curious to see what your questions are. Did it help? Did this video help you out in assessing and trying to get your head around what it's going to cost to do your balconies? I'm curious to know. If it didn't, please post in the comments below. I'd love to create or change some comment or add some more comments about this, because people are definitely, if you've seen my billboards and you've called our offices, there's a lot of people that are actually very interested in dealing with their leaky balconies, especially now that it's in the rainy season. If you want to learn more about some of the content that we have on our website, baycitiesconstruction.com, check that out. We've got some really good blog articles. This is my team. We've been doing this. It's going to be 20 years in 2024 that we've been helping folks out with their residential remodeling and repair needs. We can do the whole thing. We can help you out with the plans. We can do architectural engineering. You need an engineer to certify your building. We can do that too. We've got a couple of partners that we've hooked up with to provide that service and get everybody up to date on and current with the new California legislation. Guys, my name is Alex, Bay Cities Construction. I want to thank you for watching, and please comment below. Love to talk to you. If you have any questions, give our offices a call. And again, thank you for watching. If there's anything we could do, love to talk to you. My name is Alex, Bay Cities Construction, reminding you, you don't need a contractor. You need a team of pros. Bye-bye.